Section 5 of Germany, the Netherlands, and Switzerland. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Sonja. The World Story, Volume 7. Germany, the Netherlands, and Switzerland. Edited by Eva March Tappan. Section 5. Herman, who freed the Germans from Rome, 9 A.D. by Kate Freiligrath Kroeker. Gaul had become a province of Rome, and it began to look as if Germany would follow its example, for several German tribes had become allies of the empire. This might have been the case, had it not been for the unwise rule of Varus, commander-in-chief of the Roman forces in northwestern Germany. The Editor. This Roman governor, Varus, introduced the whole hateful array of Roman law and Roman rates and taxes, together with Roman tax-gatherers, to the Germans, who up to now had known nothing of these things. All litigation was settled according to Roman laws and in a foreign tongue. Disobedience was punished by death, while, according to the old Germanic law, capital questions lay in the hands of the popular assemblies only. In dealing thus despotically, Varus thought to break the stubbornness of this people, whereas he simply exasperated them beyond endurance, and only strengthened that feeling of nationality which had been so marked a characteristic trait of the Germans from the earliest times. Determined to free themselves from the oppressor's yoke, all the tribes between the Rhine and the Weser now united under Herman, prince of the Cherusci. In his youth Herman had learned Roman warfare in Italy, but far from having succumbed to the seductions of the Romans, he despised their indulgence and luxury, and while daring and courageous, he was yet cool and wary. The Roman army under Varus was at this time encamped on the banks of the Weser, when the general was called away to a distant revolt. This was the signal for the conspiracy, and succeeded in drawing Varus away to march against the insurgents, although he was warned not to do so. Varus, however, would not listen, and chose the nearest way through the Teutoburger forest, which was destined to become his death-trap. For no sooner had he entered that region of forest, swamp, and mountain defile with his army, than he was attacked on all sides by the Germans, who harassed him unceasingly for 3 days and nights. At the end of that time the Romans, weakened by want of food and rest, succumbed, and Varus killed himself by falling on his sword, his example being followed by many of his officers. The entire Roman army was thus destroyed, and Germany freed from the hateful foreign yoke. When the Emperor Augustus heard of the disaster, he rent his garments and exclaimed, full of grief, "O Varus, give back to me my legions!" Thus the might of the Romans in Germany was broken forever in the great battle of the Teutoburger forest, although the chances of war still fluctuated for some time afterwards, when Germanicus, the son of Drusus, determined to conquer Germany anew, and to avenge the Teutoburger disaster. But with the exception of some successful raids, and an encounter with Herman, which was left undecided, his final attempt to conquer Germany met with so desperate a resistance that Germanicus had to give up all idea of doing so for the present. It was in one of his raids on the Chatti in 15 A.D. that Germanicus carried off Tusnelda, the wife of Herman, into captivity, where she gave birth to her son Thumelius. Nothing certain is known of their subsequent fate, except that the Cheruscan princess figured with her little son in the triumph given to Germanicus in honor of his prowess in Germany. We may imagine her led in the Roman procession, sad-eyed, her long fair tresses flowing, and thinking of her husband and fatherland she was never to see again. Before Germanicus could resume hostilities, he was sent by Tiberius, who was jealous of his nephew's great popularity, to Syria, where he suddenly died, it is believed of poison. Tiberius now declared that enough blood had been wasted, that Rome was sufficiently avenged, and that the stubborn German races might be safely left to their own dissensions. Unfortunately, this proved to be true enough, for no sooner had the danger subsided from without than internal quarrels and broils arose. It was owing to such dissensions that Herman, whose high position was the cause of much envy, found his death at the hands of his relations. He died by treachery in the year 21 A.D., and Tacitus nobly says of him, "Undoubtedly he was the liberator of Germany, for not like other kings and chieftains did he meet the Roman people in its infancy, but at the time of its greatest power. Not always victorious in battle, he remained unconquered in war. Throughout the many sad and terrible centuries that followed, the memory of Herman the Cheruscan has faithfully remained with the German people, and in 1875, after the great Franco-German War, a monument was erected to him in the heart of his own Teutoburger forest, in honor of Germany's patriot and liberator, and as a symbol of German unity. From the heights of the Grottenburg, the colossal figure of Herman looks down on the waving forests and beautiful silent mountains, which today are still very much what they were in the times of the Romans. End of section 5. This recording is in the public domain.